Hello everyone, and welcome to Think and Learn English. If you want to improve your English while learning about history, culture, and the world, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're going to explore the history of Venezuela, a country with a rich cultural heritage, breathtaking geography, and a complex political and economic journey. From its indigenous civilizations to Spanish colonization, from independence to oil wealth, and finally to the challenges the country faces today, Venezuela's story helps us better understand Latin America and the modern world. To make this journey clear and easy to follow, this video is divided into 8 chapters. Each chapter focuses on a key moment in Venezuelan history, helping you learn step by step while practicing your English listening skills. So grab a notebook, pay attention to new vocabulary, and let's start thinking, learning, and improving your English together. Let's begin with Chapter 1. 1. Introduction, the geographic and cultural context. Venezuela is located in South America, bordered to the north by the Caribbean Sea, to the east by Guyana, to the south by Brazil, and to the west by Colombia. Its geography is extremely diverse. It features tropical plains in the north, the Llanos, the Andes Mountains in the west, and the vast Amazon rainforest in the south. The country also has an extensive northern coastline, as well as major natural reserves such as the famous Canaima National Park, known for its waterfalls and impressive landscapes. First inhabitants, before the arrival of Europeans, Venezuela was inhabited by several indigenous peoples, notably the Caribs. A large indigenous nation spread along the Caribbean coast, known for their resistance and complex social organization. The Arawaks lived mainly in river regions and were known for agriculture and pottery. The Kumanagotos, one of the largest groups in the central region with a strong social organization. The arrival of the Spaniards had a devastating impact on these populations, which were decimated by diseases, enslavement, and conflicts. 2. The arrival of the Spaniards and colonization, 1498 to 1810. Discovery and conquest. In 1498, the navigator Christopher Columbus reached the coast of Venezuela, initially exploring the region of Margarita Island. From then on, Spanish colonization intensified, though it was not as rapid as in other regions due to indigenous resistance and the difficulty of the terrain. Early exploration focused on gold and spices, but soon shifted to the cultivation of sugarcane, tobacco, and coffee, which became the basis of the colonial economy. Colonization and economy. The exploitation of land and indigenous labor was marked by violence, but also by the implementation of a colonial system. During the 16th century, Spanish cities such as Caracas, founded in 1567, developed alongside large plantations that used enslaved Africans. Natural resources such as gold and silver helped consolidate Venezuela as part of the Spanish colonial empire. Indigenous resistance movements. There were several attempts at resistance by indigenous groups, such as the rebellions of the Pemon and Caribs. But the resistance did not achieve lasting success due to the Spaniards' military superiority and the impact of diseases such as smallpox. 3. The independence of Venezuela, 1810 to 1821. Early independence movements. The movement for independence began in the early decades of the 19th century, with a series of revolts against Spanish rule. In 1810, the Caracas junta was formed, marking the beginning of the struggle for independence, led by figures such as Francisco de Miranda. War of Independence. Venezuela's independence was marked by a series of bloody and difficult battles. Simón Bolívar, the main leader of the independence movement, consolidated his role as commander of the Patriot forces, which faced the Spanish Royalist Army. The Battle of Carabobo on June 24, 1821, was decisive for the victory of the Venezuelan forces and independence. The formation of Gran Colombia. After independence, Bolívar founded Gran Colombia, a republic that united Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and Panama. However, the union was unstable, and Venezuela separated in 1830 after Bolívar's death. 4. The Republic and the First Internal Struggles, 1821 to 1900. Division and instability. The early years of the Republic of Venezuela were marked by political instability and internal conflicts. Regional leaders, known as caudillos, dominated politics, and the country experienced a series of civil wars. The Federal War, 1859 to 1863, between liberals and conservatives, was one of the most significant conflicts of the period. Caudillismo. Caudillismo was a central feature of Venezuelan politics in the 19th century. Leaders such as José Antonio Páez and Antonio Guzmán Blanco dominated political life. Páez was an important figure during and after the Wars of Independence, while Guzmán Blanco, for example, ruled for 3 terms and implemented modernization policies. Oil and economic development. At the end of the 19th century, Venezuela began the exploitation of oil, one of its most valuable natural resources. Oil production would grow significantly in the 20th century, but even in the early 20th century, the oil fields of Zulia were already being explored. 5. The oil era and modernization, 1900 to 1950. The beginning of the oil industry. In the early years of the 20th century, oil became the country's main export. With the discovery of large oil fields, especially in the state of Zulia, Venezuela began to gain increasing influence in the global energy market. This also attracted the interest of major foreign companies such as Standard Oil and Royal Dutch Shell. Conservative governments and dictatorship. For much of the 20th century, the country was governed by authoritarian regimes, most notably Juan Vicente Gómez, who ruled from 1908 to 1935 with an iron hand. His government was marked by political repression, but also by investments in infrastructure and the strengthening of the economy through oil. Populist and reformist movements. The 1930s were marked by the rise of labor movements and growing discontent with dictatorial governments. During the 1940s and 1950s, the country experienced a brief period of democracy, which was interrupted by military coups. Nevertheless, oil and industrialization helped modernize the country. 6. Democracy and the challenges of the 20th century, 1950 to 1990. Punto Fijísmo, 1958 to 1998. After the fall of the dictatorship of Marcos Pérez Jiménez in 1958, Venezuela entered a period of political stability known as Punto Fijísmo, based on an agreement between the country's 2 main political parties, AD, Democratic Action, and COPEI, Social Christian Party. The economy was based on oil exploitation, and there was significant development in infrastructure and education. Militarism and guerrilla movements. In the 1960s, Venezuela faced a guerrilla movement led by Carlos Andrés Pérez and other left-wing leaders. However, the military forces managed to defeat the insurgents, and the country returned to relative stability despite growing social inequality. The oil crisis. The rise in oil prices in the 1970s provided Venezuela with a major economic boom. But the fall in prices in the 1980s caused a crisis. The economy collapsed, resulting in inflation and unemployment. 7. The Hugo Chavez era, 1999 to 2013. The Bolivarian movement. Hugo Chavez came to power in 1998, promising a Bolivarian revolution based on the ideals of Simón Bolívar. He implemented reforms that nationalized key sectors of the economy, such as oil and electricity. Chávez's government was marked by improvements in social conditions for the poorest sectors, but also by repression of the opposition and governance crises. Chavismo and 21st century socialism. Chavismo was characterized by a left-wing ideology, with a strong emphasis on wealth redistribution, strengthening the state, and increasing government presence in the economy. Chávez also sought greater integration with other Latin American countries, such as Cuba and Bolivia. Internal and external conflicts. Chávez faced several challenges, including a failed coup d'état in 2002 and constant protests from opponents of his government. His foreign policy also generated tensions with the United States and other Western countries. 8. Post-Chávez. The current crisis, 2013 to present. The death of Chávez and the rise of Maduro. Chávez died in 2013, and his successor, Nicolás Maduro, assumed the presidency. Maduro, initially seen as a continuation of Chávez's legacy, faced enormous economic and social difficulties. Economic and humanitarian crisis. Venezuela entered a deep economic crisis after the fall in oil prices in 2014. Inflation soared, shortages of food and medicine became a humanitarian tragedy, and millions of Venezuelans fled to neighboring countries. protests and political conflicts, Maduro was re-elected in 2018, but his election was considered fraudulent by many countries and international organizations. Street protests and violent clashes marked this period. Human rights organizations reported systematic violations, and the political crisis intensified. Now that we've reached the end of this video, it's time to check your understanding and practice your English interpretation skills. Think about these questions. How did geography influence the development of Venezuela throughout its history? What role did oil play in the country's economic growth and later crises? Why was the period of independence so important for Venezuela's national identity? What were some of the main challenges Venezuela faced in the 20th and 21st centuries? If you can answer these questions in English, even with simple sentences, you're already making great progress. We want to make something very clear. The purpose of this video is educational. Our goal is to help you learn English through history and real-world topics, not to promote, criticize, or defend any political ideology or political position. Knowledge and language learning come first here. If this video helped you learn something new, please leave a like. It really supports the channel. And if you want to keep improving your English with content like this, don't forget to subscribe to Think and Learn English. Thank you for watching. Keep thinking, keep learning, and see you in the next video.